Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Thursday, the 27th of February, which makes this the news for Wednesday, February 26th, day 1099 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, coming to you from this major European capital currently under siege. Hey, Mel, how's everybody doing tonight? Hey, Lars, hey, super user, Andre, Paul Smith, how do you do? How is everybody doing today? Hey, Lil Red, I was working on that Operation Denver thing today. Thanks for sending me your stuff. What was your stuff on Denver? No, your stuff was on NRA, right? That'll be next week. Hey, Darlene. Hey, Tisno. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Nightshade. Just bought a gold card for $5 million. Don't leave home without it. Hey, Jeff Robbins. How you doing? How's everybody doing tonight? So, ladies and gentlemen and other non-binary folks, oh, Doge needs an IQ test. You're not kidding, Lars. You are not kidding. Hey, Richard Prexis, how you doing? So, man, I'll tell you. So it turns out, right, that the Russians were producing about 30 to 40 drones a day out of that factory in Tatarstan. It appears that they are now producing 150 a day. And that could explain why we are seeing these massive drone strikes coming in. Last night was day 4 in a row. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, into Wednesday. Yes, it was 4 days in a row of over 170 drones a day. Just these massive, massive drone flights that the UAF is dealing with in spectacular fashion. We're talking about well over 90% interception rates on a daily basis. It's amazing. Now, last night, the Russian Federation sent 177 drones. Of that 177, 110 were shot down. 66 were taken out with electronic active countermeasures. Probably some of them with the new Dragonfire laser weapons that we know that Ukraine has been using against drones now. That's 176 out of 177 drones. That's a 99.4% interception rate. Hey, Dan Ballard. Just incredible. Now, I admit the nights have been loud. Sleep is hard to come by. As a matter of fact, as you all know, Monday I slept right through the live from 9 p.m. until 4 a.m., straight through 7 hours. I was as shocked as anybody else. I mean, I haven't slept 7 hours without having to get up to pee since 2020 rather. Hey, Michael, thanks, Terry. I sure appreciate it. So now, there's a couple of things here. You know, I read a couple comments there was a church service in Great Britain, in London, that Ambassador Zaluzhny, the Ukrainian ambassador and former head of the armed forces of Ukraine, was at. And he said something interesting. He said something to the effect of dictators fear the truth and prefer their lies to the truth. Hey, Pugga Mahone. Hey, Laddie. Now, he's right, of course. I believe it was a Church of England, as a matter of fact, Anthony. Yes, indeed. Ambassador Zaluzhny said something to the effect that dictators prefer their lies to the truth. And it is very disturbing to me as an American to see the nominee for Deputy Defense Director in his Senate confirmation hearings being asked whether or not Russia invaded Ukraine and started this war, and him being unable to answer that question. Now, why would the Deputy Director of the Defense Department of the United States be unable to answer that question? Because the President of the United States just repeated the lie that Ukraine started the war, that the war was provoked by NATO. And so the next Deputy Defense Director for the United States of America can't tell the truth about a global conflict that we all know what happened. It's very disturbing. And this need to lie, thanks TCNK, I appreciate it. This need to lie is now rearing its ugly head as problems between Moscow and DC, because both of these bastards lie so much that they can't keep up with each other's lies. Now, we all know that Putin is never going to accept NATO troops as peacekeepers in Ukraine. That's not a thing. We all know that with 1 million armed troops firing at each other on both sides, the number of peacekeepers you would need in Ukraine is not a reality, right? Like the number of peacekeepers does not exist to come into Ukraine. So this whole notion of peacekeepers in Ukraine is nonsense of the first order. Kudos to Ukraine's allies who say that they're willing to send troops, like Sweden and UK and France, and increasingly other countries as well. But Putin is never going to accept them there, and we know that. Well, yesterday Trump said that he was going to accept them. Trump said, sure, I talked to Putin. He said it's okay. He's okay with it. Something to that effect. He's okay with it. Like we're talking about whether we're going to serve white or red with the fish. The Kremlin is flatly denying this. So the Kremlin has come out and said that Mr. Trump is wrong, that they do not accept the idea of NATO peacekeepers in Ukraine and will not have them there. And so there is a little trouble in paradise between this established dictator and this wannabe dictator who is so desperate to peddle his lies to the American people and the world that he is undermining our position in the world as well as our economy in his absolute ignorance. Now, in this ignorant worldview where making a buck is the only thing that matters, the President of the United States has made the claim that we are going to get all our money back with interest, as if Ukraine owes us something, when every single one of those weapons packages and aid deal packages that were negotiated with Biden don't have terms and conditions. As if he can come along and now say that here's the bill for everything the last administration did. And that's exactly what he's doing. Make no mistake. It's exactly what he's doing. A Trump administration official today on this subject said, Ukraine owes us, quote unquote, big time because, quote unquote, they wouldn't exist as a country without us. The indecency, the arrogance, the disgusting, self-involved, money-grubbing nature of these comments in the face of a nuclear armed autocratic aggressor is obscene. There's simply no other word for it. It's obscene. Now, it appears as though the US and Ukraine have come to terms on a rare earths mineral deal. We do not have the details yet. It is being said that Zelensky is going to fly to to DC on Friday to sign the deal. The RADA here has said that it will sign off on the deal. But again, we don't know the details yet. What is known? It's known, well, according to the New York Times is reporting that the rare earths deal terms have been agreed upon. It will not be the $50 billion or the $500 billion deal that Donald Trump wanted. The worst terms are said to have been eliminated from the deal. There will be no, as well as the best terms, there will be no security guarantees for Ukraine out of this deal. The BBC quotes Zelensky as saying he will not sell out his country. And one of the terms that we do know, or that we believe we know, of the New Deal is that it does not include oil and gas reserves that are already developed. So Ukraine is not being strong-armed into just turning over 50% of the revenues from developed resources. The United States is going to have to contribute here and develop the resources that it's going to take a percentage of. It appears is what the deal is. Now, again, we're waiting on the terms. Now, look, all I can say about this is that if Ukraine believes the deal is in its best interest, if they feel that they have come to a deal that helps to preserve them existentially, and it does appear that under the terms of this deal, U.S. aid to Ukraine will resume. That does appear to be the thing. No security guarantees, Krager, but rather that we will continue to do what we have been doing and supply weapons to Ukraine. Now, I thought it was worth talking about a little bit why this deal is so important to the United States. And because we talk about these things, right, like rare earths, like what is rare earth? Why do we care about it? And it's worth, I think, taking a minute to understand it, right? When we talk about rare earths, we're talking about those kinds of elements that are extremely difficult to find and are extremely useful, like titanium, right? I say titanium, and everybody here of a certain age, at least, thinks of the tiles on the outside of the space shuttle, right? They were made of titanium. Why? Because they can take the abuse of re-entry and not fall apart, right? Or maybe when you hear titanium, you think of somebody's knee, because it's a strong, highly tensile material that can be shaped and molded and doesn't react with the body itself. And so it makes a great knee that'll last you a lifetime. Titanium, lots of titanium in Ukraine relative to the amount of titanium on Earth. In fact, it's estimated that 5% of the world's rare earth minerals are here in Ukraine. 5%. Now that 5% is a big chunk. Oh, look, Lars has titanium in him. There you go. Where are the most rare earth minerals on Earth? They're in China. 60%, it's estimated, of the world's rare earth minerals are in China. China, because of that, also has a monopoly, a virtual monopoly, on the refining of rare metal ores. So 60% of the world's rare earth deposits are in China. And China does 89% of the refining of rare earths. They have a virtual monopoly on it. The US is entering a trade war with China, and China has said it's going to cut off the supply of rare earths to the US in retaliation for the 10% across the board tariffs that are going to kill the Chinese economy. It's a problem, this trade war that Trump has started. So what does the US need? What does Musk need? What does every chip manufacturer that is part of the CHIPS Act that Biden passed, what do they all need? They need access to these materials. Praseodymium, neodymium. I did a video today with a neodymium magnet that I have, and check that out, and you'll see how it works. But Fitz hits it on the head. Electric cars, cell phones, they need that stuff. And when we think about neodymium in particular, as much as 5% of the world's neodymium is here in Ukraine. And what's important to understand about the use of neodymium in Teslas is that it's absolutely essential for the magnets in the Tesla engine. They can't build Teslas without them. And it's estimated that there is not enough neodymium on this planet to make a Tesla for every American, let alone one for everybody in the world. So the state of the EV, the electric vehicle technology, is such that we don't have the capacity, we don't have the resources on this planet to build the cars as they're currently manufactured for everybody. It's just not a thing, right? Now, Hutma says asteroids, damn straight. So instead of killing each other over a few square kilometers of ground where these rare earths are found, why aren't we working together to get to space, to get to the asteroid belt where we can mine this shit in unending quantities and transform this third rock from the sun into a paradise for all? Greed, little red sunflower, the unenlightened short-term self-interest of a few of our primate species that are willing to send their brothers to die for their own unenlightened short-term self-interest. It's obscene. It's obscene. So this is why this is all so important, and why Ukraine is being strong-armed by the Tangerine Palpatine into handing this stuff over. Now, again, developed deposits are off the table. So all of Ukraine's oil and gas revenues are safe from the Trump administration pilfering of Ukraine. Additionally, it appears that under the terms of this agreement, weapons deliveries will continue to Ukraine. That's all we know. And even that might be wrong. I want to say we need to take all of this with a great big heaping tablespoon of salt, because that's what's currently being said, but we have yet to see the details of the agreement. As an American, it's very frustrating for me to see us abandon the angels of our better nature. That is our dedication to democracy, liberty, and freedom in the world. Our dedication to science and knowledge and the truth. To see us abnegate all of that to a money-grubbing snake oil salesman of a failed reality TV show host who has to be worshipped by all those around him, or he destroys your life and your career. It's very disheartening to see America embrace this fascist fool the way that they have, the way that we have. Very, very disheartening indeed. One of the things that is extremely comforting for me is that I am in Ukraine. And so I am surrounded by people who are literally bleeding and fighting and dying every day for these very principles and who understand what that means and who not only put their own lives on the line, but work the way that we in the United States invented from the ground up. The world has always been from the absolute ruler down, push it down, right? It's the exact opposite in America. Out on the factory floor, every guy that's working in a position can pass his suggestions up. Right, that's how we get the productivity improvements that we have seen in the United States that have driven to the creation of billionaires, one after another. Because from the bottom, when you do things from the bottom up, when you listen to the people who know, who are in the trenches doing the work, you drive efficiency, ingenuity, and innovation. And that's exactly what the Ukrainians do every day. They have changed the nature of drone warfare, changed the nature of warfare with drones and other technologies in ways that no one could have imagined 10 years ago. Couldn't have imagined it. But in the crucible of this war, the ingenuity of the Ukrainian people has led to us, you and me, having to add to our vocabularies the words all robot combined arms maneuvers. We have seen, pardon me, we have seen in this war robot armies, no people, ground troops of robots, and supported with air cover from drones, attack Russian positions and destroy them, risking not a single Ukrainian life. It's astonishing. Meanwhile, on the Russian side, we see them using horses, donkeys, and mules, not only to get around, but to move their equipment. It's insanity. The two armies are living in two separate worlds. One is being dragged back into the 19th century, while the other one is being propelled forward into the 22nd. And it is a stark contrast. It is a stark, stark contrast. Golf carts and turtle tanks, bicycles and motorbikes attacking Ukrainian positions across open fields. It's insane. Russia is losing over 1,000 soldiers a day. As a matter of fact, they are on track now to lose, it should hit 1 million soldiers in about 100 days. At the current rate of loss, it is expected that they will hit 1 million lost in 100 days. Unreal. Unreal. Hey, you know what? I don't have any sponsors tonight. So Dan Ballard and Bobby, my team in San Diego, this one is for you. The sponsors of tonight's live are Bobby and Dan Ballard. Thank you, gentlemen, for all you do. I sure do appreciate it. I don't have any sponsors for the rest of the month or for March. So if anybody wants to sponsor a live, the PayPal is in the description. Thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, and Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces. For me, guys, okay, so that's it for me. Those are the highlights of the news for tonight. Who's got questions? What should we talk about tonight? I should mention You know, I've done a lot of ad hoc projects here in Ukraine, one-offs, few days or a week here or there, doing this or that. But I haven't done anything that's like a consecutive weekly kind of event. And in the light of America House being temporarily closed. Now, some of you may not know America House. America House is the USAID project, a cultural project here in Ukraine that provides an interface between American culture and Ukrainian culture. It does this in the form of an English-speaking club, which is an opportunity for Ukrainians to practice their English and helps evolve a solid English-speaking ecosystem here in Ukraine, which I believe is going to be absolutely essential for the success of Ukrainians as the country moves further and further to the West and looks more and more to the EU. And so Ukrainians being able to speak functional English is incredibly important. In addition to the English club, they did talks with diplomats and high-profile people. And they did an American movie night. So once a week, what did you do? Yeah, tomorrow, Fitz. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Give Bobby and Danny the spotlight tonight, pal. Thanks. They really do. They're big helps to me. So let's not take it away from them. I really appreciate you guys in San Diego. Anyway, another thing that they do here is American movie night. So American movies in English, right? Now, I'm only one person, but I'm very disturbed that USAID has shut America House down and that these services, these events, are no longer available to the Ukrainian people. And so I'm working very hard to try to make them happen again. I think, is Wanpa in here? I don't know if Wanpa's in here. I thought I saw him earlier. Wanpa, did you ever go to Conversations with Charlie over at America House? Or did you ever go to an American movie night? If you're here. Conversational English, the Conversations with Charlie that America House used to do. I'm going to do it. It's a series called In Conversation With. And we're going to do it at Gonzo Bar Lukianivska, which is right near where America House is. And that'll start on Wednesday, the 5th of March. So for any Ukrainians that are listening, there is I started a new Facebook group called In Conversation With. And the intention is to fill the gap left by the loss of the Conversational English night at America House. I am hopeful that very soon we will be able to announce the return of American movie nights as well. And hopefully you will come on out and join us for those American movie nights. And beyond that, if anybody is listening that can help me with the other pieces, because America House did so much, or if anybody here has an art gallery in the United States, particularly in New York, and you wanted to do American art exhibits here, I can try to find galleries, and we can try to do, because that was one of the things, America House has a gallery, and so the exhibit would change regularly. And it would be great to do art openings of American art here in Ukraine, and maybe we can send some Ukrainian art to your gallery, something like that. So we're going to start with Conversational English nights. We're going to move to American movie nights, and then from there we'll see what other services we can return to the people of Kyiv that have been lost with the closure of America House. Somebody mentioned there that we're in a constitutional crisis in the United States because a judge has ordered the Trump administration to resume those payments from USAID because they're contractually obligated to do so. Not that Trump cares about contracts. Just ask the Polish workers who never got paid for building Trump Tower, right? Now, the Trump administration is saying they can't do it. They can't make the payments by the deadline that the judge has set. They need several weeks. I mean, please. It's just open defiance of the judicial branch's check on executive power. It is forcing ignoring the courts is forcing a constitutional crisis in the United States. Now, Bobby, what American Movie Nights is just what it sounds like, right? It's an English language movie, an American film, made available to Ukrainians. I saw La La Land for the first time at a American Movie Night. Now, during COVID, they couldn't have movie nights at America House. America House was shut down during COVID. So what they did was when the strictures were lifted, they started having them at a little theater downtown here called Kino 42. So Sunday, I'm going to go over to Kino 42 and meet with the manager, and we're going to have a conversation about restarting American Movie Nights at Kino 42. Do you think it will go well if Europe distances itself from the USA? It won't go well for the USA. I'm not entirely sure that Europe doesn't have everything it needs to be just fine on its own, but it will certainly not go well for the USA. Kreger, I don't know the details, but I did hear that the pro-Russian candidate for prime minister or president in Romania was arrested with millions of dollars in cash on him. And I think it was in dollars. Like it wasn't, like it's so funny to me, right? Like the Kremlin, when they bribe people, bribe them in US dollars because nobody wants fucking rubles. Hysterical. How and where? Now, Big D has a great question. Look at this question. How and where in the world are you recruiting enough soldiers to lose 1,000 of them a day? Well, they're sure as hell not taking them from Moscow and St. Petersburg, right, Big D? No. They're taking them from Uganda, from Sri Lanka, from Thailand, from China, from India, from Pakistan, from Tajikistan, Uzbekistan. They are playing on the poverty of the poorest people in the world, telling them that they are going to get Russian passports, telling them that they are going to make $2,000 a month, telling them that they're going to get a signing bonus of $10,000 right up front, more money than they'd make in 5 years. And they're telling them that they're going to be safe, that they're going to be in Moscow guarding trains, that they're going to be on loading docks in St. Petersburg. They're going to be safe. And then they get them in the country, they take their passports, they put them in a uniform, they hand them a rifle, they give them no training, and they send them into the meat grinder, and they never pay them a thing. That's what's happening. And that's how they get away with it. Now, the North Koreans, that cost them a pretty penny. They had to pay Kim Jong-un $26,336 apiece for the lives of those North Korean soldiers. And that's what they were worth to Kim Jong-un. Life is pretty cheap to these animals, and they make no bones about it. So Dusty says, how will the minerals be mined from stolen land? Will the orcs stop bombing those mines? So Putin has offered rare earth minerals to the United States, including those in the occupied territories, like the Shevchenko lithium deposits in Donetsk, rich lithium deposit in Donetsk. Now, when I say rich, right, like remember, these are rare earths, right? So the ore in the Shevchenko deposits is 1.24% lithium oxide. 1.24%. Now, that may not sound like much, but that's a rich find. You only have to process 100 tons of ore to get over a ton of this rare earth. That's a big deal, right? Believe it or not, it really is. Currently, that mine is leased. I forget. It's either a South African or an Australian company. I think it might be Australian. But at any rate, the rights are leased to somebody else. He just can't work it because it's currently in the occupied territories, or most of it's in the occupied territories. The line literally straddles the mine. It's like 40 hectares. What's that? About 100 acres where this deposit is located. Now, get this. So Putin turns around and says, well, we'd like the U.S. to invest in our rare earth metals too, here in Russia and in the temporarily occupied territories. They didn't say temporarily. You cannot begin to imagine the backlash from the Russian people that this is causing Vladimir Putin, particularly from his most ardent supporters in the mill blogger community, who are screaming that they have shed their blood, they have seen their friends die. For what? So that Putin can turn the Donbass mineral wealth over to our enemies, the United States. I saw one guy said we might as well apply to NATO. So right now, the Russian people are feeling betrayed badly on this. The mill blogger community is up in arms, literally, over it. It is typical. It is typical that what Putin does backfires and hits him in the face. And this is certainly one of those cases. Now, Dusty makes the excellent point, these lands belong to Ukrainian citizens. Will the USA buy it from the owners? No. The United States under Donald Trump has no moral compass, Dusty. They will deal with whatever gangsters are in charge. They are making that clear. As long as it puts money in Donald Trump and Elon Musk's pocket, they do not give a shit about how many Ukrainians had to die to give it to them. And it breaks my heart too. Dealing with the devils. Yes, they are. Now just imagine, though, you're a Russian. And you've been hearing that America is the enemy. You're fighting America every day. America, NATO, and the West want to destroy you. And now Putin gets on TV and says, hey, America, we'd love to give you access to we'd love to talk about deals to give you access to our rare earth minerals. We know you made it illegal to buy our uranium last year, right? But now we're friends. It's insanity. And it shows Putin for what he is. He is not an ideologue. He doesn't have an ideology. He doesn't have a sense of morality. He only has his own unenlightened short-term self-interest in mind. Now, as far as American business goes, who the fuck is going to be dumb enough to go into Russia after we've seen $1 trillion in Western assets nationalized in the last 3 years? You got to be kidding me. What kind of an idiot would do any business with Russia. It's insane. Yes, Russia is a threat to Latvia, Lithuania, and all the Baltic states. If Russia is given the opportunity to breathe and rearm itself from this conflict, you guys are next. You guys, Poland, you guys are next. There's no two ways about it. Well, truth hurts. The new agreement has no security guarantees, and he says he's going to sign it. That he's going to fly to D.C., and the RADA has already said it will give its approval. So he's not only cut the deal, he's passed it through the legislature, and he's flying to D.C. on Friday to sign it without guarantees. It's very upsetting to me too, I assure you. Nightshade, you can't say that. You can't say what the U.S. will or will not do because we have no idea. Trump is a maniac. Nobody can say what he is going to do. Kreger, do I think it's better if the fighting continues? I do, rather than there be an unjust peace. But it's not my call, just like the mineral rights thing is not my call. If the Ukrainians feel it's in their best interest, we have to support that decision because it's their life, it's their future. They're the only ones bleeding and dying in this thing. Yeah, Patty, me too. Casimirs, you might be right. Now, see, CyberDoc, that is the question, right? And that's what we don't know yet. Does the deal give Ukraine what it needs to really keep up the fight? That is the question. Thomas Cochran, he already does want the gas pipeline turned back on. He just tried pressuring Moldova and Transnistria over this very issue. So he wants that gas flowing again, absolutely. Nicola, he's not doing the original deal. It's a brand new deal with all the worst parts of the first deal removed. Right? So hopefully it's something closer to fair. Bobby, I don't have the details. I can't say anything about the quality of it. Dark Irish, I'm not sure about Crimean targets. Last night, the Russians said that they shot down 128 drones coming over the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, and they had to close the port at Sochi because all along the coast they were getting hit. But I'm unaware, they could be. I'm just unaware of any hits in Crimea today. Rob wants to know why I'm not on the front line, because I can't pass the physical, Rob. I don't have any background as a soldier. I'm an old person. I'm very close to 60 years old. And I'm not somebody you want. You don't want an amateur with no experience on the front line who can't run a mile. Run a mile, hell, I probably can't run 100 yards. The new German chancellor did promise tourists when he was campaigning. Let's see if he comes through with it. Why no security guarantees? Because it's Trump. Exactly, Nightshade. What's new with Russia on fire? Bobby, I didn't see anything in Russia burning today. I'm sorry, pal. I mean, I don't know, pal. Empty security guarantees are meaningless anyway. They sure are. As we saw with the Budapest Memoranda, as we saw with the Minsk Accords, I mean, Putin's just going to wipe his ass with everything. He's not going to keep to the terms. I'm seeing some OMP and some other people are saying some interesting things there. And you know what? You guys are right. It would be better to say that what Ukraine and U.S. have right now is a framework for a deal. The deal itself will have to have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. Then it'll have to be approved by the parliament here. Then it'll have to be signed into law by Zelensky. And something similar will have to happen in the U.S. So legitimately, we could be months away from an actual inked deal. That's true. And it's a good point of clarification, gentlemen. I agree with you. Hey, Courtney Davis. Hey, Dave. Hello, Feisty. Hey, Van. How you doing, bud? That's what's being signed on for Friday. You're right about that. The framework of a deal. So, guys, it's just about 1 a.m. Final thoughts? Anything? It also seems to include a lot of outs, so if Ukraine needs aren't met, they can throw it out. I don't know how you know that. Have you seen it? Is it published somewhere? Because I had not seen that. Georgescu, that's his name. He was arrested. And Musk is condemning it, huh? Of course he is. Joey Contino said he got a copy. Well, he's a real journalist. I'm an amateur. What's the feeling towards America now with Ukraine? The Ukrainians understand that Trump is not America. Am I losing that bulb? It's flickering bad now all of a sudden. That's the only one flickering, so it's not the power, it's the bulb. I feel like we're about to be plunged into darkness here. Okay. Poltergeist. Ooh. That bulb is about to burn out, I'm afraid. All right. Well, let's call it a night, shall we? I feel much like that bulb, frankly. So, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, I'm Peter Alexievich. This is the Live at 5 from Kyiv. It looks like Fitz is going to be our sponsor tomorrow night, but other than that, I have no sponsors moving forward. So if anybody can sponsor live, please, it would be very much appreciated, especially right now as I am trying to launch these projects to replace the gap that America House is closing is leaving in the market for Ukrainians. Yeah. So if anybody can help with any of that, please. The PayPal is in the description. Thanks, kids. I really appreciate it. Make it a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Oh, also, I'm at like 957 subscribers on YouTube. If you don't subscribe, help me get to 1,000, would you? Sign up for the YouTube. Thanks. Take care.